All right, everyone. Welcome for joining us. We'll start off with some slight introductions while everyone is coming on in. Just to let you know, um, everyone that is in attendance today will receive a certification within the next day or so. As a matter of fact, don't forget to enroll and register for the conference at the end of November. With the certification will also come a discount, and that is in November 22nd and 23rd in Sofia, Bulgaria. Uh, Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Panayoti Solis, or Professor Solis, Pete, whatever is easiest for everyone. My background now is in academia. I'm a professor in Athens, mostly on the entrepreneurship and business development side. Before getting into academia, I worked as a consultant in the US for tribal gaming, land-based mostly, a little bit of online, and opened up a couple properties, Cosmopolitan Las Vegas, a $4 billion resort, MGM Resorts. I worked on a couple other marketing programs with their M Life. So quite a bit of gaming experience, but now on the academic side. I will be your moderator for today's conversation of the future of gaming, how the exponential technology growth impacts the industry and challenge compliance. I have with us our esteemed panelists. I will go through them one by one. They're going to give us a brief little introduction, and then we'll go into a round of questions. I'd like to let everyone know that this is an invitation to be interactive. So there is the chat. I will be monitoring as our panelists are speaking. So please join in into the conversation, add a question, add your comments. This isn't going to be a lecture. This is going to be us just talking to each other. This is for you to also get out of who we have in the room because there's quite some strong CVs in here. And so I'll start from the top. Michael Greenberg, please share with us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Michael Greenberg. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for a company called delegates, and we're based in Gibraltar. We were one of the first, if not the first, fully regulated entities to come from Gibraltar, with a DLT license, which gives us permission to buy and sell crypto assets as well as transfer funds. And we work a lot with the iGaming space. I've been in the space on and off for about 11, 12 years, kind of from the outside. I've had my own business a few years back where I consulted and worked within the iGaming space, brokering really deals and selling other products into gaming. And then the last sort of few years on and off, I've traveled. I've worked in several different countries. I've scaled up several smaller businesses into larger businesses. And then I met the guys from delegates, the founders here, had a really interesting proposition and business. And I thought, blockchain, crypto, I think it's here to stay. It's a business that I'd like to stick to and get into. And since then, we've grown as a business, and we're having a great journey. So been really enjoying it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that introduction, Michael. Next, let me introduce Martina Dixie. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that is right, Pete. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Martina Dixie. I'm a Senior Compliance Manager within Playtech, one of the biggest B2B providers in the online gambling. I have been in the iGaming industry around 8, going on to 9 years now. I've started in B2C operations initially, and I've learned a lot about this side of the business. But in the last 5 years, I've been working more on the provider B2B side of the business, especially when it comes to compliance, regulations, AML. And I'm looking forward to speaking and having a chat with all the esteemed speakers today.
Thank you so much for that, Martina. Next, let me introduce Nika. You're going to have to help me with your last name, Gikwashvili. Sorry, help me with that.
It's okay. I'm Nika Gigashvili. I've been in the iGaming industry for more than 10 years. I've been in the B2C operations as a technology officer and the operations officer. And the last 6 years, I've been the co-founder and managing director at SMH, which represents the largest iGaming organization in terms of B2B services in Eastern Europe and post-Soviet countries. We are partners with the SPC, and we'll be holding SPC Summit Tbilisi in October 23rd, 24th in Tbilisi. So anybody from the attendance could hit me up on LinkedIn or email, and I'll be happy to invite. And we are providing advisory services to iGaming sector through SBC Advisory Partners Network, which is global. We are responsible for, again, Eastern European and Central Asian markets. And it's my pleasure to be listed alongside such great speakers and share a bit of my expertise, and hopefully it would be useful for someone.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining with us, Nika. And not last but not least, of course, David Stovald. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, he took a shot at my last name. Nice.
Did I get it?
Yeah,
oh man, I'm terrible at names.
Pretty good. So yeah, I've been in designing slot games for the last 15 years, both on the land-based and on the iGaming side. Started at IGT for a few years, and then I went to VGT, got acquired by Aristocrat, went over to WMS in Bali, which was acquired by Scientific Games, NetEnt, which was acquired by Evolution, your pattern, Yggdrasil, Colomba, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been with Armadillo Studios. Mainly is the creative lead. That's my passion for doing that. So
it's funny you mentioned Games or IGT. I actually used to live by the IGT offices in Las Vegas. There's a bar that was just down the street I used to go to after work every now and then. On the gaming side, so my background's in casino marketing, and we always just talk about the customers, but there's often a disconnect when it comes to the game and actually the development of it. And really, in your experience, where do you find technology impacting game development and the trends that are moving forward?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I'll start by just in terms of, especially, when I first started at IGT, just like the idea of creating games and how hard and difficult it is. Obviously, in Reno, they have the entire factory, to construct the mechanical steppers and all the different components. And these days, I guess I make the analogy of like chess and like playing against your family versus now, and now it's more like in New York City, like with the competition. Mainly, because now you just, with the RGS is available and all the aggregators, even, of course, every matrix, we're aggregator everywhere, and we're certified in Eastern Europe, by the way. But yeah, for creating games now, it's very easy to get on there and get your content everywhere. So, I would say, now there's so many, more talented, anyone, which is great, right? Anyone around the world, if they're talented at creating these, can do them. So, it's not as easy anymore to beat the competition. And of course, as we're talking about growth and technology, just, obviously, like, this revolution, Endorphina, of course, with the, completely AI, games. And then we have this, like, we've recruited probably some of the best artists in the industry. And just the fact that, all of this technology is available for, they need to use these AI tools and all this, this content to be able to compete with this stuff. And you see, like, obviously we have like a Halloween game, and just, it's amazing how quickly you can create this good content, by using the software. And if you don't use it, you're going to get left behind. So yeah, I find that's really fascinating. I'm just glad to be part of a company that's all about software services, right?
So you mentioned AI, and that, as a business professor, that's what everybody's talking about in every industry, period. It's either going to take jobs, it's either going to make jobs easier, it's either going to help people or hurt people. What is your take on AI as an automation tool, AI as a resource, or anything under that? And I'll ask the other panelists their take on AI.
I'm fascinated by that. Just the fact of in Nevada, I was getting my master's in computer science, and I was studying AI. The classes and the thesis, it was all about like genetic algorithms and how you can kind of figure out things that don't exist, right? I'll go back to the whole chess thing, right? In chess, as a person, you need to take control of the center of the board. That's kind of, at least what I would understand in order to win the game, right? You don't know 30 steps behind, but now it's fascinating how my phone, it already knows 23 steps ahead of me. of, just based on listening to my conversation that, I want this thing, or I have this problem with something, or I need to correct this. And I was like, how do you even know that? I don't even know that yet, right? So it's incredible. And I find myself saying like a lot of stupid things because it's what if this, what if that, what if that? But, if you don't think of these, impossible, things, then, we're never going to come up with the flying car, which is like the only piece missing in Jetsons now, right? So.
Yeah, I was watching something. It was about the iPhone, and they're like, actually, the iPhone's a lot better than the Jetsons phone. All they had was phone calls. So we're already kind of above them in some things. Nika, yeah, definitely, Nika. Within your sphere of influence, AI, I would assume, is a very big attribute within your business. Can you please just give us a bit of an overview or your take to the topic?
Yeah, so after AI becoming more accessible and available to the companies, we see that it's growing and it has many, many different utilities within the business. My personal take is that, of course, it's going to affect the work market and it's going to replace many jobs, but the ones who learn how to utilize it and who understand how it works will be successful, and they will be getting like much more efficiency and much more effectiveness in the business. As we explore, AI today is very active in marketing, automation, and personalization, so that we see companies are being already successful in creating the AI models for analyzing the user behavior and patterns and creating the personalized user experience on the fly for them. So we know a couple companies which in iGaming which successfully have implemented this technology already. So they are creating the automated offerings, automated bonus offerings, automated content personalization, so that they see those games that are preferable for them. They see those bonuses that are going to be working for them, and it's happening in real time, almost like within like several minutes delay. And this is one of the magic tricks that business is going to be having. I believe all of the companies going to be having that magic trick very, very soon. Another thing is like since the voice AI has become very human-like, we see that customer care is becoming so good and so cheap for the industry, because before we used to have these big customer care teams with hundreds and hundreds of people if you were working on the several markets, and you always had the issue of hiring, and these are very highly fluid or liquid. How do we say it in English? Sorry,
just turnover. There's turnover.
Yeah, turnover is
Yeah.
really high. So it's a total headache for the HR department as well. So that you are always looking for some customer care people who are living in this constant process. And AI makes it so easy now. So that we used to have chatbots, and chatbots were pretty successful at the late stage. But now voice AI has been introduced, and voice AI integrated with the marketing AI, which can determine the user behavior and analyze what can be offered to this definite client and how this client can be handled, is going to be a next huge thing, I believe, for the industry.
So how smart is AI for this space? Because we have a course at the university which is on AI, and I taught a guest lecture on fast food restaurants in the US. They have a lot of high turnover as well. And so now they created AI for order taking machines. And the person in the video, I think it was like CNBC, would go to the machine, go to give the order, and have their horn blasting, or they would have like the noise of a dog, or they would try anything they could to see if they can fool the AI system. How advanced, in your experience, is this AI technology? Because if you have high turnover, that reflects the bottom line. Hiring people is expensive.
Actually, it's pretty new technology for now, and of course, it's not perfect. But even for those small countries like Georgia, for example, there is a startup which implemented Georgian language model, and it's working pretty good. It's been already used for 6 months for the insurance industry, and now they are trying to transfer to iGaming. I'm consulting them, and it's growing pretty quickly, and it's evolving pretty quickly. So I believe within a couple of years, it's not going to be an issue. Of course, for today, you can be a bit of a headache for the AI, but again, it's like 10% of the customers who will be experiencing some trouble, and you always have the option to get transferred to the real operator. But like within 5 years, it's gonna be like top notch.
Yeah. You mentioned growth. You also talked about Georgia, and on our talk yesterday, you also mentioned Uzbekistan. Like, are there trends? Are there markets that are kind of emerging for us to know within this space?
Yes. So if we explore our region in general, we had Ukraine as the top prospect, as the iGaming hub of the region, which had like huge population, good economy, the tech talent and huge tech talent pool. It was very, very attractive and interesting, but unfortunately because of the war and because of the situation, it has become tough for the industry to consider Ukraine right now. But on the other hand, if we observe the region, we have like Georgia as one of the top destinations. Even though we have like 3.5 million population, the total deposits in jail is around 7 billion in iGaming, and total GGR only on iGaming, like on online operations, last year was 1.2 billion USD. So the market is huge, and all our region countries are like crazy about betting and gambling. So in Georgia, for example, today Flutter, Entain, and Betson Group are already presented, and it shows that the region has potential even for such small countries. And we've had some regulatory updates last year, and also announcements for the different countries in the upcoming year. Kyrgyzstan has regulated online casinos and casinos in general, which was not regulated before, and it has shown to be one of the very interesting markets for the regional players. And since we are also involved in traffic and marketing and sports media side, we see the interest of advertising, and we see how the budgets are growing from the gambling industry. So it proves that they are lucrative markets and they are beneficial markets for them. Also for Uzbekistan, which we mentioned yesterday, Uzbekistan announced that they will be regulating betting, not gambling, but betting next year. They were planning to do it a couple years ago, but the take on that was not successful because of many different reasons. But this time it has been decided to definitely be done, because the country sees that firstly the black market is growing and growing, and money is leaving the country, and the population is not getting any benefits from it. So the regulation will be in place, which will support not only the local economy, but it will be also supporting local sports development and sponsorships, etc., etc. So I believe it's going to be one of the top destinations, because Uzbekistan has 38 million population, and as we see that sports content consumption is huge there. It's double of any other market we operate in, and the time spent on our platforms, the consumption of news we publish, consumption of broadcasting that is going on with our partners channels. For example, as mentioned, we are strategic partners with Stanta, especially for the Uzbekistan market. It's like double than any other country. So I believe betting will be a huge market for that country.
Thank you for that. I want to go over to Martina to talk about the regulation side, especially with expanding markets. I do have a question in the chat. I want to at least address the question. Nicola, thank you for sending it over. His question is, does an AI that is using or use behavior to maximize their spend not increase the chance of developing a gambling addiction? Actually, this, Martina, this actually falls under you too. So especially considering it usually acts as a black box that doesn't show how it works, what safeguards should be needed or should be used?
This is actually a very good question. Nika, thank you very much for in a way giving the idea of how AI can be applied on the customer service side of things, so more for the operators, how they can use it to make their business quicker, more efficient, which is good. But also AI has another purpose, which has actually started being implemented already or at least regulators are asking for it in various jurisdictions where the regulatory framework is in place. AI is already being used to detect gamble of players at risk, as well as monitoring their behavior, also detecting fraudulent activity, because this is where AI is actually going to help customers being flagged as having potential issues before they have developed any further, it being addiction or problems with their game, because at the end of the day, technology is there also to make the game safe. As you well know, the gambling industry is not well seen in many countries, and it's a place where we need to try and find a balance between fun, entertainment, and also safe, not being at risk. And AI is definitely the way forward. It is coming a bit slower from what I can tell. I can see that the US has definitely started introducing, for example, the AI requirement or the requirements for any risk management systems in order to analyze the behavior of customers to help them obviously not develop or get any problems in the future, which is very, very good. But also we are a little bit behind in terms of getting the legislation, because at the end of the day, operators, providers, they can adapt, so you will have to adapt. But we're lacking more on the national side of legislation. There are a lot of countries that haven't introduced those digital assets or AI type of legislation, which will help them get the local regulations in the gambling industry to adapt to what is coming. But definitely AI is being used on both sides. So it's being used to help operators maximize, obviously, their business model. But at the same time, it is being used, and there are quite a few tools out of the market, and it's becoming more popular. They would help operators protect their players. And it's a little bit like a CSI, but on a different level. We're not talking criminal cases, but we're talking people displaying behavior which should be flagged. And technology is there to do it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just really quick, Pete, if I can.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree in the summary words that we were always saying this, that I mean, the AI can be used for good or for evil. And yeah, we just, for every matrix, we just got like the WLA Safer Gambling certification. And I was meeting with Laura a lot, and it was really fascinating talking to her, because I mean, she basically talked about, it's I mean, it's really important that we have on the safer side more, because it's, it's harder to be defensive than, offensive, right? Security wise. And yeah, I just love the example she mentioned, I mean, like who would want to put like a slot machine right next to a pawn shop? Like that's just not okay, right? So it's like this is like the same thing, but with higher technology tools that we have to be even more careful about.
So since you have the floor, a question actually came on that talked about AI, and it was, I would like to add how the AI is involved in the game development.
Right. Yeah. So in addition to like I was talking about like in Endorphina, how they kind of they made a completely AI game, and then we're actually using it for the art to get it quicker. You can ask for certain things to moderate it. But I mean, even in the future, I mean, which is of course, I mean, more fascinating is we should expect to be ahead of where we are right now, to the point where you should be able to ask about like, create me something like this, and something will come up, and whatever, it's pirates and this, okay, that's okay, but create me something where it does this model, and it's like with this performing thing, but I want this kind of twin to it, like, so it'll be like a process of because it's always tricky to, like, even programming, it's tricky to tell the computer exactly what you want with the typing, but it's gotten better with each iteration, where it's like, you mean this, right? Thank you, intelligence.ai. So it's kind of the same thing. As it's getting better, you can sort of, you have the vision, and you should be able to quickly, say, it's never, had something that had, this sort of bonanza fruit thing, but, I kind of want something with the shared play from this, Beyond Play company that does this, or, I want help with this sort of technology so that people can bet together, but I have this problem. So, I mean, like, using these tools should be, like, it's one of those things where you can't even explain it. And that's what's so fascinating about it, right? So, because it's so unknown. But
I think it was either Microsoft or Google about 2 months ago, a report came out to where they had like two groups, one of which was developers just working in their daily habit. Another was developers utilizing AI. and the developers utilizing AI were significantly more efficient than the ones without using it. Before we go on to our next speaker, kind of want to stay on to this. This is open for everyone, of course, to answer. The next question is, how much can we trust technology of AI, especially when we're talking about, well, AI is written in English, right, usually. How does that work with the translation into other languages, English to other languages for SEO sites? Does anyone have any expertise on that for our viewer, Victor?
Maybe I could elaborate on that a bit. I also answered the question on the chat. We see that AI translations are getting better and better on a daily basis, but still they are immature. If we compare what was happening on the AI translation at the beginning of the year and what's happening right now, is that we've totally trusted the translation process to them, and now the edition is going on. And before we were just trying to translate, but our journalists were doing the translation also. So it has significantly improved the quality of translation. Also, for the SEO side, there is one additional problem that most of the SEO bots are now recognizing the AI-generated text, so you need to be smart about it. And once you generate the text and you go through it from your editor resource, like human checks the text, if you want to just edit, quickly change some words, make sure that it says what it should be saying, then you can use something like Quillbot or any other humanifier of the AI-generated text. Or you can ask your editors to humanify the text, but you have the benchmark, you have the text which can be used for the translation. And for now, it's still immature and it's not where we would like it to be so far.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So I'm kind of torn about two ways to go. Let me continue with Martina for a moment. Do you believe that technology is making it even harder for regulators within the space? Because I'd like to also get into the conversation of crypto. It feels like, AI came out and then cryptocurrency became like the old conversation where it hasn't gone anywhere. It seems like we're just talking about AI and it's not in the conversation. So how does that all play into the environment, Martina? And then I'd like Michael to join in because he represents the other side of that argument or the conversation.
Thank you, Pete. Well, it is definitely challenging because, as I mentioned before, unfortunately, we first need to see some national legislation in order to be able to guide where the country wants to go. And then, of course, as you well know, regulators in all of the countries where there is a regulatory framework, where we have some requirements linked to licenses, and there is a lot more expectation to protect the customer. What needs to be put in place is the specific legislation, but based on the national legislation in place. So it is very hard because if the country's priority is not to actually implement the technology as quickly as possible in the country, then it is very hard for the regulators themselves to create something where the operators and providers can actually act upon after. And then there is, again, the specific timelines. For example, as we mentioned a bit, cryptocurrencies. Wasn't it just this year when El Salvador was the first country which made cryptocurrency its official, well, it's one of its official payment methods, as well as the US dollar, and how this moved forward. So it seems that there is a step forward, then there's so many things that are stopping it on its way. So I do believe, this is my personal opinion, of course, that it will come, but it's just taking a bit longer because at the moment there are a lot of other topics which are a priority for the government and the regulators, which is advertising, responsible gambling, safer gambling. So there are other topics which are a priority. That's why technology has been pushed a bit behind.
I have a question, but I see Michael shaking his head, and I want to see kind of, please add to that thought process.
Yeah, no, I'm nodding to Martina there, because obviously coming from a commercial side of the business, it's all about us kind of working, helping companies with paying. We provide a payment solution. But I know that I've got, for example, 7 guys in here in a compliance department that are constantly having to keep up with what's going on with our regulation here. But it's not something I get too involved in. But so then moving along, I think Martina said it as well, that it's taking longer than we thought. I mean, we could do a little bit of a yawn when you hear the word blockchain, when you're hearing the word crypto. Those that have been in it for 13, 14 years, you know, it's a long wait. But you have to remember to differentiate, and the difference between buying a crypto, having a project, having all these scams that come out. They don't do very good for the industry, and they don't do very well when you're trying to talk about blockchain as a technology. And as a technology, the blockchain itself, I mean, we've seen for the last few years, an example would be that a lot of gaming companies out there in many different jurisdictions, and they have what they call cross-border solutions. Now, bank to bank can be very, long-winded. You could be waiting 3, 4, 5 days. Utilizing the technology, utilizing blockchain correctly means that you can transfer funds, for example. You can move them across the blockchain in 10 to 15 minutes, but you can settle back to a merchant in fiat, so in euros, dollars, GBP, which is a very common use case now. But even 2, 3 years ago, knocking on doors, talking to guys, talking to people, you'd find out that there wasn't such an appetite. I think all of a sudden we've moved that. I think especially the last 18 months, we've seen lots more competition anyway, lots more companies moving into a sector and getting themselves kind of licensed in different jurisdictions, but still a bit of a long way to go. But in terms of payments, it works. And I think what you'll find as well, and this will probably help anybody that's going to be in compliance, is that it's kind of you could look at it in the future as being some sort of enhanced safety, even more secure, because everything is obviously recorded on a ledger, the same, can't be changed. And I think the benefits there for the future for actual compliance departments, treasury departments, etc. It's probably one of the the most promising solutions we've got out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something stupid really quick, but yeah, get used to it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, when you mention those things, I saw it on LinkedIn, right? The whole Burger King with the my God, why would I use a card for Burger King? That would take forever, man. I'd rather just count nickels and pennies, right? So I mean, you sort of see that stuff, and just from my understanding about the whole the blockchain, how it's independent. I kind of think about and this probably is wrong, but just kind of in the actual operators, the casinos, the websites, right? That is also kind of like a I mean, I'm making an analogy to a bank being a third party, right? Like, I mean, what are the the imagination ways where that could actually work, where just like things can just sort of exist.
You've also I mean, you could also do sort of you have companies as well. I'm going back, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years ago, where there were big, larger companies, the bigger operators that are often slower to adapt. It's a longer process for them to change their technology internally, etc. But you had companies coming out literally with a mobile game offering. They weren't even going on web, and these guys shot up. Their companies grew very, very fast because they were at the tip of the technology. They were there when it first started, and I think that we're just going to have the same, really, with blockchain and all the other use cases that operators can benefit from using blockchain. The fraud department, player protection, responsible gaming, all of those other elements will get used, but it's also down to people, individuals, managers, taking on that sort of education piece, learning a lot more about what's happening, and then, adapting and moving and getting involved in blockchain. I think I can't see, it's not gone anywhere. You've got to, as you all know, David and Nika, like from a development perspective, people are developing games on the blockchain now. Players can play a game and they can actually earn, they can get a return, which you can't do in normal traditional gaming. So there's so many more benefits just utilizing blockchain across, several different departments in gaming that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's here.
So,
AI is a bit trickier for me. I'm not a technical guy, so trying to work all that out is a bit tricky. But again, it's just one of those things that you look at and you just think, it's here, it's staying, it's not going to go anywhere. We're just
100%.
No, blockchain is totally like magnificent technology as a technology, and it gives so many different capabilities to the broader audience, not just iGaming, but like having something automated on the smart contract and on blockchain with total transparency. It's so many different questions. Like I believe within a short period, most of the governments will be using it for issuing passports, issuing ownership documents, etc., because it will offload so much work and it will like bring so much ease to these industries. Also for the gaming, the only thing which is stopping blockchain to take over the industry is that transaction time is a bit longer than it would be in ideal world. So, for example, we don't have like blockchain slots yet because the slot spin is happening much faster than the blockchain transaction is covered. But I've seen some new technologies which are gonna be also covering that part. The very general idea is that before blockchain becomes fast enough, there is the technology which now identifies the session ID, and within the session ID, it is the bridge between blockchain and the wallet. So it makes the transaction faster, and it then communicates with the blockchain. So if it's successful, we've not seen it yet in the iGaming, but I've seen it in the DeFi world. If it's successful, I believe it will be also utilized in the iGaming world as well. And for now, we see that blockchain can be used very good in the betting world and in those aspects where the transaction speed is not that important, but the transparency and ownership is the key. We are also experimenting some things on SMH side to try and get into the blockchain gaming side, and hopefully next year I'll be presenting one of our products.
So, it's an interesting theory, or at least a concept if we think about it. We're in a vice industry, right? People are going to do what they're going to do in most part, and that's why certain countries have regulated certain vices, like let's say gambling, alcohol, or so forth. And so, just in my thoughts, in my humble opinion, it's either we as an industry are forward thinking within any type of disrupting technology to provide a safe place for people to participate in, let's say, gambling through Bitcoin or other types of currencies, than going through, let's say, an offshore nameless operator that could be dangerous for consumers. Does anybody have any thoughts on that, just as a concept?
Well,
yeah, go.
Yeah, this is a very difficult topic here because me as a representative of the compliance side of the business, of course, I lobby for more regulated jurisdictions because actually it is easier to operate once you have a clear framework. What is good is that indeed in those not regulated, it's easier to introduce those new things. So technology is definitely coming in there faster. However, something that is not being regulated, tested, tried, it takes years to make sure that the right, let's say, tool or the right game works for this specific place and culture and world. So I do think that we should strive for more regulation. And this is where things are going, because I can give you a recent example. As most of you know, Curacao is one of the gambling regulators, which has the highest number of licensees, so the highest number of operators that have obtained a license. And of course, once you have a Curacao license, you can target these countries where there is no active regulation in gambling. And now they're trying to completely revamp their framework and adding more requirements. Why? Because the lack of requirements, unfortunately, creates more problems in the long term. So this is where it's hard to find this balance. But in my opinion, I'm all for regulation, but you need to take the time and the right steps. It doesn't happen overnight.
Oh yeah, definitely. David, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I thought that was perfect for you because yeah, that is more important that it is regulated. And I understand all that. I can't help myself with anything's possible. What can we do? This and that. But of course, I mean, you got to be careful about. I mean, anything from money laundering to I don't know, bonus abuse. And I mean, being American too. I mean, even like I love to just have Ripple just to see it go up and down. But yeah, it's regulated pretty heavily in America. It's like, by the way, are you American? Because if so, you have to do all this special extra paperwork just to own the cryptocurrency. So
Yeah, definitely. A participant, or sorry, one of our viewers sent over a question, and I'd like to throw this to the whole group. It's about iGaming platforms. And so the question is, would it be better, that constant question of buy or use, other aggregators, platforms, or to build your own to offer content and solutions. So build or
maybe
buy.
I could start discussion on this because I've been on the operations side in iGaming, and I've dealt with both developing the platform and also being the consumer of the existing platform. Once you're starting the business and you are new and you don't have like years and years of experience in running your operations, I believe it's the best idea to use the existing platform because it has already been used in many different operators. It has fine-tuned the processes. It has added all the features you need, and you don't understand it yet how it's going to be working for you. But after like 5 or maybe 3 years of experience, you might see that the flexibility of the platform or the capabilities of the platform are not enough for your operations, and then you might start developing something your own. And I believe not the whole platform, but you should start with bit by bit. Maybe you could start from the promotions engine or CRM, or maybe you could start from something like user experience automation and just take over the front end. You leave the back end on the platform, but you build in the AI, which I was explaining in my previous speech, that just dynamically changes what games are shown to the player and what bonuses are shown to the player. But this is just the middleware, let's call it like this, between platform and the front end. So jumping into platform development is at least 1.5, 2 years period and $2 million. So if you are not willing to waste that time and money, and if you are willing to jump into the operations and start like learning and experiencing the business from day one, absolutely you should leverage the existing platforms.
Well, it goes to that business case question. What business are you in? So when I was consulting some properties back in the US, some had some in-home CMS systems that were very buggy, that were very ugly, and some had the IGCs, the side games that had their limitations because every property wants to segment their own way, but they worked. So is your business to develop software so you can do accounting, or do you want to just use your legacy software, right? Does anyone have anything else on that topic? I can move on to one of our next guys. They're starting to flow in from our participants.
I agree. But,
Okay. It seems like we want to take a step back again. So in the panel's opinion about crypto payments and gaming, would that be the next preferred currency in the industry? Michael?
Sorry, I meant that the video went a little bit there.
Sorry. So about crypto payments, is this going to be the next currency in the industry? Like preferred. That's the question. Was it the preferred currency?
I think we're already there. I mean, for us as a company, we'll say it's a preferred currency, but I think what you'll find is that there's a large proportion of gaming companies working already that are receiving what's a classic use case now is stable coins, being able to transfer funds across borders from all different jurisdictions. So a lot of companies, a lot of PSPs, a lot of the gateways, a lot of acquirers that work with these gaming operators are actually, depending on their jurisdiction or their appetite, if they're able to, if their head of compliance is giving them the go-ahead to utilize and transfer funds using digital assets, crypto, whatever, then that's a use case in itself, which we've seen explode. I mean, we only have to go to events now. The last 2 years, we've seen so many competitors, so many companies offering on and off ramps, but using, digital assets and blockchain to transfer those funds. So from my perspective, it's just getting more and more popular. Every time you hear something in the news, though, about a bad actor or something bad in the crypto space, unfortunately, that does have a bit of an effect. You sometimes will see a business that's a little bit reluctant to use that particular channel. But as far as I know, in terms of repatriating funds and delivering money back into a native currency, there is nothing out there really that can beat blockchain. And as a company ourselves, I mean, we've got an entire team that use third parties to check every single transaction that's coming through. So I personally believe that the way in the next few years, we will have digital currencies running through each country. Governments are issuing them. I think it's here to stay, but again, differentiating the difference between crypto companies and projects that go up and down, it's a much different thing than looking at a high level of technology that's providing a conduit for payments that seems to be working very, very well. Also on the processing side, bear in mind that you've got, you have your treasury and compliance teams processing with crypto. Everything is recorded. Everything is on the block. It's there for anyone to go and check. So that's got to be good news for gaming operators, for the future.
And quickly on the development side too, and I remember we had a quick discussion about, I was worried about the fluctuations about, since they're so volatile, and, you mentioned the stable coin, of course, which is a really good point. Also just like, in terms of, other ways of doing bonus abuse on that, it's a whole new thing to analyze. And just even like the bet amount though, like I imagined like, having the set amounts that it needs to probably be more dynamic to compensate for how much, certain amounts cost. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the processing side. You wouldn't really have, deposits are limited anyway. In most countries, you can deposit up to maybe £1,000, €1,000 of crypto. You're not really probably going to play with Bitcoin unless you're in a VIP and you're really going for, large amounts. You're not going to be sharing or splitting part of your gold, as it were. So the smaller transactions, the microtransactions, are probably made with stable coins and some other kind of coins that are, of a much lower value.
Wasn't the trend also, or not the trend, but at least like the rumors, is the digital currency for central banks, right? The EU or the US eventually might even move into a far more digital space. And how could that disrupt everything?
I think it will just complement the existing.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. Because you'll just swap. 1 minute you want a GBP maybe, or you want $1. So you'll swap. I think a lot of projects out there that are here to stay, and a lot of the main currencies are not going anywhere. So it'll just be a case that will become everyday usage, and you'll be swapping or transferring funds in and out of banks, but you'll still be using digital currencies and national currencies. But let's see, because the talk is always this, and it's up and down. It's a slow boat, but I think we're getting there.
In all fairness, who knows what comes out in the next few years too.
Yeah.
Something that I'd like to just propose based off of my background, what I shared with you guys yesterday, and I'd like to share this with everyone viewing, is one of the reasons why I came from the US to move back to Greece is, as director of the business program at a university, I've started a lot more gaming specific type offerings to undergraduate students, because in my perception, this industry really could use gaming education from all angles. So let's say, at an undergraduate level, you work through multiple business type of classes, but then towards the end, you learn about what is regulation, you learn about what is payments, you learn about what is customer segmentation at a casino level, not, chips or some other consumer good or service. And also on the development side, the languages that we use. So what are your thoughts? Because, I'd love to hear people that are more involved in the industry than I am.
Yeah, I think that sounds amazing. I was already promoting at Every Matrix to have like a type of rotational program. So I mean, like students that graduate from there would be perfect. Yeah, but about the UNLV, I actually went to UNR, so we were like a rival
Oh
school.
no!
The football, like at the time when I went there, like Kaepernick was the quarterback, and it was like it was like a cannon that went back and forth, and they were like the wolf pack. And I see wolves on like Wolf Run and all these slot games with wolves. I think that's the reason. But now everywhere, right? Like what is it, Wolf Gold or whatever from everywhere in the world. But I think that probably originated from there. So
Probably. Yeah, we can still be friends even though we went to rival schools.
yeah, it's all good. That's good. It's easier that way actually.
But I think it's a very supportive thing for an industry is to have this balance between, the regulators, the compliance, the operators, and higher education to help with, let's say, problem gambling idea, how to prevent it and things of that nature. Does anyone else have anything to add to that topic as well?
I would agree on this one 100% because what we've seen as well recently is the increase, as you well know, of the gambling companies and the gambling industry being seen in a more positive light in a way sometimes because it educates people, and that is the main point. If you educate, everyone knows that gambling is bad because you're going to lose money, but people forget that it's there for entertainment. The main purpose is entertainment. So you're trying to just break this myth of it being a really bad thing, which is very hard. It's going to take some time. But if actually the gambling industry creates these workspaces, creates the education and gives opportunity to kids, because when you're 18, you're still a kid, in my opinion, to learn about the future and what they would like to do, this would be great. For example, I'm based in Bulgaria, and I can see that in the last few years here, there are multiple courses and also a lot of university courses based on technology and developers. The same in Romania. So now Bulgaria and Romania, I think, are both known to having a higher number of people that work in that area, and especially in the gambling industry, because you need people who are good with technology and can develop new games, can work on AI. So it's all interlinked. It's I think we're going back to the technology part of things. It's more education on technology when it comes to universities, because how many of us have done something in university and never followed up on the degree? At least this is my personal experience so far. But unless you're going for something very specific, it's very hard to continue and work in the same industry. So definitely, this is a good thing, creating actual some workforces and giving people the opportunity straight after university to jump into a job, which is great.
Yeah, so from our Eastern European and Central Asian perspective, I could share that the industry really has a bad reputation, but at the same time, most of the youth is willing to get employed in this industry as far as the industry promotes lifestyle with much travel, much education. Like all the companies are financing the courses, they have fun lifestyle, they are always going to the team buildings, going to different conferences and summits and expos. So it's very attractive for the youth. And also, since the regulations in most countries are built the way that the industry should be beneficial to the community, I believe that within the time, the image of the industry should be changing, because it develops the infrastructure, it develops the technology, it develops the staff, it develops the workforce, and also it's always higher paying than any other industry. In our region, I believe that on the managerial level, it's around 1.72 times higher than the industry average, and on the lower level, like jobs like customer care operator and stuff, is like 2.5, 3 times higher paying. So the industry really is pushing the economy and education forward. And since Pete is doing such a great job bringing it to the official and next level and making it like institutional is great.
Yeah, and I recommend anyone who's participating, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's talk about it. I'm Greek, but I'm also American, so the market here has to say what they want, not me coming in saying this is what I think based on my experience. It has to be accepted, just like UNR and UNLV are accepted in the U.S. for the U.S. market, or how the University of Macau is for University of Macau. We have a participant that also agrees, especially when it comes to naming conventions throughout the industry and the different scales. We have about 4 minutes left. Does anyone else want to ask our panelists a question before we sign off? I don't want to hold people past the time that we allocated, but here's your chance to get a hold of these professionals and ask them their opinions on all their expertise.
Yeah. But just even on the question of the RTP, I mean, I can already see a curriculum, right? When you have like a gaming mathematics 101 where you do go over those terms of RTP and standard deviation, right? You have the design thing, and about the, dopamine and how it feels good and why it feels good. And then when Martina's going on to compensate it with, as far as something like being responsible, why it's regulated, and as you're teaching what makes games good, follow it up by okay, people under 18 or 21 in USA, right? Like when you're on that young, the risk of suicide, it's higher. This is a big deal. It's serious. If they're under that, they cannot gamble for these reasons, right? And I think, you can really get a stamp of approval for that. This is teaching for good design of slots and everything. And it's also, a safer gambling certification. That would be a great way for society everywhere, to, recruit from, these universities that actually are well-rounded like that.
Yeah, so I've actually reached out to a couple operators here in Greece, and the conversations we're still fresh and we're working on it. But I'm over the business program, but we also have a psychology program. We also have a MIS and technology program. So who's gonna create the argument, right? Not the argument. Who's gonna push it forward is a student at 22 years old that wants to study psychology even going to think of going into supporting the prevention of problem gambling, or could the industry help provide scholarships or move people into these roles?
Yeah, select the right people as well from that.
Yeah. One last question I think we can do, because we have about 2 minutes left. How important is personalization in the iGaming business? New opportunity, how personalization in business, new opportunities. The usage of customer personalization in sports betting that has become a focus for many suppliers.
Lobbies are already like Netflix, right? It's just what's the future at? So let someone else take this though.
Absolutely. So the ones who are going with the personalization are winning the market. And as mentioned, I've disconnected from the B2C operations for already 6 years. But back then, even without the modern technology capabilities, we were segmenting people and tried to be as quick as possible on personalizing. And we were running 2,447 segments when I was operating. So it was pretty almost personal,
At MGM, we had lookalike models. So basically, one of my jobs was to consolidate all the properties. MGM grew from acquisition, right? So different system, different players, cards, different everything. And then it all got merged, and customers will be getting emails from every property based off the play that they did at every other property. And so what we basically did is we started looking at consolidating it. We started looking at sending one offers to every player. And then we also started looking at some lookalike models. So in that way, if somebody played at the Mandalay Bay but really looked a lot like an MGM customer, we started sending them offers to try to move them around, because in essence, at least on the strip, you visit 3 properties. And so if your portfolio of properties has 11, those 3, at least 2 of the 3 better be yours if you already have them in your database, right?
You see all the BetMGM advertisements there. I go there a lot, right? And obviously they're merged with Leo Vegas now. So
yeah, huge opportunities in the industry. So I want to thank everyone that spoke today for your time. Your time is very precious, of course. I'd like to thank everyone that has participated. I'd like to remind you all you'll receive a certification of your attendance to this series by tomorrow. So to keep a look at it for your inbox. And then, of course, the Eastern European Gaming Summit in November on the 22nd and 23rd. You see the code that's been flashing on the bottom of our screen. You also get the 30% discount through the team over at EEGS. Everyone, thank you so much. Have an early, happy weekend. And I hope to see everyone again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot, everybody,
Bye.
and wish you a great Friday and the weekend ahead.
Thanks, Nika. Bye-bye.
Honor.